Where's the jail for Cláudio Castro? Former governor of Rio de Janeiro up to here in trouble. In 2 criminal cases, refit and Banco Master. Where is Ibaneis Rocha? Who took 12 billion and pumped it into that devil Daniel Vaquero at BRB while he was governor of the federal district? Now, we want the investigation. We want accountability, and we want an active justice system without any party affiliation. But that really gets everyone, no matter who it is, no matter who it hurts. We're talking about the biggest banking fraud in Brazil. There's a mafia involved with armored cars, rifles, machine guns, and snipers. They have connections with governors, city halls, the National Congress, the Chamber of Deputies, and the Federal Senate. With the governors, we want to know. We have the right to know who is involved, and whoever is involved has to go to jail. Now I'll repeat, no one is condemning anyone, but the truth has to be shown, and I showed it here, and everything I said here was according to the federal police document, which was the basis for Minister Andre Mendonça's decisions. And that's what we will always do. And it's hard to know who will be saved from this mafia. It's gigantic. It's unfortunate. And as I told you, she canceled today's session. Alcolumbre cancels the Congress session after a federal police operation targeting Jax Wagner's relationship with Master. And I'll say it looked really bad. I came to talk about love. I should have talked about justice. No one is going to get away with it. That should have been Davi Alcolumbre's line. A shame. Meanwhile, Valdemar gives Michelle a say in deciding Flávio's running mate. Flávio is sinking so badly and is so desperate that now he's trying to make peace with Michelle, who kind of can't stand him. That's the truth. So Valdemar is trying to force her to support Flávio and even let her pick the vice if that's the case. But Michelle isn't stupid. She's going to wait and see what happens. Otherwise, she might even ruin her own Senate candidacy. That's the situation, and she knows very well who Flávio is. And Flávio is being abandoned, right? Extrudia, as my grandmother used to say, extrudia. Silas Malafaia said that Bolsonaro's sons are screwed and that the future of the right is Nicolas Ferreira. What a mess. Oh, out of the frying pan and into the fire? Or is it out of the fire and into the frying pan, right? Then he said the future of the right is Nicolas Ferreira, the one who flew 10 times on Borcaro's private jet. That's the one. Just think about it. And now the other day he gave an interview and said he never liked Bolsonaro's sons, that he never had any contact with Bolsonaro or with Bolsonaro's sons, that he was never close to them. Let's see. In other words, Silas is abandoning ship. Why could that be? Silas leaving. I think he knows what's coming ahead. Look here. Look at the situation. Malafaia abandons Flávio Bolsonaro. He doesn't give right-wing corrupt people a pass. The pastor from Rio criticized the presidential candidacy of the son of former President Jair Bolsonaro again, but Malafaia's moves are interesting. As soon as Bolsonaro announced that Flávio Bolsonaro was going to be the candidate, Malafaia came out and harshly criticized him, saying, Flávio Bolsonaro doesn't have what it takes to be president of the republic or even a candidate. Do you remember? That's what happened. Then later he made up with Flávio, even held an event with Flávio. He put Flávio in the pulpit during a communion service. You know that. So it stayed like that with Flávio. Then came the bombshell from Daniel Volcaro, his bosom buddy, his dear friend. I'm with you no matter what happens. Flávio Bolsonaro asking Daniel Volcaro for money. Then Silas backs off again. Now he doesn't know whether to go or stay or go. Now he's lashing out again. Let's see here. I think he knows what's coming soon from Silas Malafaia, that even Silas is abandoning Dudu Bananina. It's a sign that things are really bad and that a lot more will come to light. Look here, pay attention.
There was a conversation, but not a party one. No one talked to anyone. Flavio came and said his father called him a candidate. So when it's a corrupt right-wing person, we just give him a pass. And the corrupt person from the left,
we go after them. What kind of principles is that? No, don't. Doing that only makes them stronger. What? No.
I've always been very close to Bolsonaro and Michelle, not to the children. I've never had a close relationship with them. Not with Carlos, not with Eduardo, not with Flavio. I've never had a close relationship with them, to be honest.
I've never had a relationship with them, to be honest. It's the rat jumping off the sinking ship. And Flavio is bashing the PT from Bahia, not to mention the fraud involving Marcio and Daniel Volcaro in the federal police operation, which started exactly because of Daniel Volcaro's mafia. What are you afraid of, Flavio? Could Flavio be next? That must be it. My God, Dad, it's one mess after another. And I keep thinking, how are these people giving the spotlight to a scammer, a convicted criminal, a thug like Eduardo Bolsonaro? Giving interviews to Veja, giving interviews, I don't know what else. And just talking nonsense. I think he's just like his father. According to what the GCI military officer said, he said he'll run as a candidate. Who is it, Andre? Eduardo. My father's substitute senator. Ineligible, Eduardo Bolsonaro says he will run as a Senate alternate. Andre, can he? Yes, he can. Let me tell you something here. No, he is ineligible. As a result of his conviction 4 years and 2 months ago by a unanimous decision of the first panel for the crime of coercion during legal proceedings, he became ineligible. Yeah, he lost his position as a federal police clerk as a consequence of the sentence, so he can't. Andrea Goncalves, I'll respond now. They asked this question, and I plan to answer at 8 p.m., but I'll reply here instead. Oh, Andrea Goncalves, but Nunes Marquez and Andre Mendonca could accept his registration as a substitute candidate. So what happens then, Andrea Goncalves? I hope they make him the alternate. Andrea Goncalves, are you crazy? No. I'm hoping they accept it and make Eduardo Bolsonaro the alternate. If that happens, they'll be shooting themselves in the foot. The elections are going to happen. The Electoral Public Prosecutor's Office will definitely file an appeal. If it's not overturned at the TSC, where will the appeal end up? At the Federal Supreme Court. And during this period, there will be a lapse of time in space and time. Let's suppose that Eduardo Bolsonaro's substitute ticket is elected. What will happen? The PL will lose a seat in the Senate. When the Supreme Court overturns everything, so I'm going to hope that they accept his registration as a substitute candidate, because later on the Supreme Court overturns it, the election is already over. If the main candidate wins with Banania as the substitute, Bananina, the PL loses the seat there in the federal Senate. They'll be shooting themselves in the foot. In other words, let me sum it up for you. If the PL lets this happen, they're really stupid. Nevertheless, being stupid is a sine qua non characteristic of the far right, isn't it? They're shooting themselves in the foot. So I couldn't care less about that. What amazes me is that Veja gives a platform and a stage to a convicted criminal to say whatever he wants, where they don't contradict him, don't call him out, and just let him talk a bunch of crap. What kind of journalism is this? For God's sake, guys. Help democracy too, right? Otherwise, it gets hard, really hard. You see the situation, giving them a platform. It's like Eduardo Bolsonaro saying a bunch of crap out there and nobody corrects him either, not even Flávio Bolsonaro. There are some situations, let me tell you, right? I can't help but show Daddy Lula ripping into them, you queen of junk. Not here, you queen of junk. Go after your own kind.
Stayed with Brazil. If he only knows Brazil through the Bolsonaro family, he doesn't know Brazil at all. There is no country in the world. And the United States could learn from Brazil when it comes to calmer, smoother, less contentious elections. There is no country in the world that has an electronic voting system like ours, where 2 hours after the elections end, we already know the result. In 27 states of the Federation, we already know who the elected president is, who the governors are, who the senators are, and who the representatives are. We're not stuck in the last century with paper ballots and a list of 500 names. We don't do that. So if there's someone who needs to learn from the civilized elections in Brazil, it's my friend Trump. Next time, I'll take the electronic voting machine to show him how it works. I think he has the right to have his own electoral preferences, his own ideological preferences. I just hope he doesn't violate the code of ethics among nations that want their sovereignty to be respected. That's all I hope for. For me, he can keep liking Bolsonaro, the father, the son, the grandson. There's no problem with that. That's his problem. After all, there's no accounting for taste. Now, don't meddle in Brazil's elections, because Brazil's elections are Brazil's business. Just like the American elections, that's their problem, not mine. So, the only thing I want is the same respect for Brazil that I have for the United States. That's all. He knows little about Brazil.
This was the blunder of Donald Trump saying he was arrested, right? The presidential candidate was arrested in Brazil. He meant to say that Flávio Bolsonaro had been arrested in Brazil. Donald Trash is disturbed, isn't he? Oh, what a little idiot he is. No one was arrested. Neither Flávio nor Eduardo Bolsonaro was arrested. What happened was that Eduardo Bolsonaro was convicted. What happened was this. Donald Trump doesn't even know who Flávio Bolsonaro is, nor who Eduardo Bolsonaro is. It's something like that, you know? Ridiculous. That's why Lula gave that answer. Something like that, you know? Pathetic, ridiculous. Donald Trump, go take care of your own house. You have the highest disapproval rating in the history of the United States as president. Go take care of your own house. Go take care of the drug trafficking in your country, which is destroying families. Today in the United States, chemical dependency on narcotics and drugs is an epidemic. It's a hardship for American families today. And Mrs. Tranquera wants to be sheriff, wants to steal. Yes, just like she did and is doing with Venezuela. Televised so everyone knows she's stealing from Venezuela. Thousands of barrels of oil and Venezuela's gold are being stolen by the United States. They went there to try to steal from Iran, but it backfired. Now they're tucking their tail between their legs and backing down, making a peace deal with Iran. Because Iran said, go ahead and come, we have bombs here too. Because what he wanted to do was steal Iran's oil, steal Iran's gas. But that didn't happen. And here in Brazil, what does he want? Our rare earths. Yeah, he wants to put an end to Brits. He does. He wants the Amazon. And there are idiots who think he wants what's best for us. Americans only think about themselves and want what's best for them. The rest can go to hell. But Mrs. Tranquera didn't count on Lula, a statesman extremely respected. And I even noticed, you know what? A certain envy from Mrs. Tranquera towards Lula. Do you think so too? I notice it because even though we're a Latin American country, according to the classifications, underdeveloped, we have a great nation, a great president, and Mrs. Tranquera wants to rise at Brazil's expense, and Lula doesn't let her. Get lost, Mrs. Tranquera. When did you realize Lula was out of the ordinary?
With Lula as president, the results started to show. The Brazilian president held talks with the Japanese leadership about the progress of negotiations between Mercosur and Asian partners. He was received by Emmanuel Macron in one of the most talked about meetings of the summit and also met with Volodymyr Zelensky to discuss diplomatic ways to end the war between Ukraine and Russia. The meeting with Zelensky drew attention because it took place at a time of high tension. The Ukrainian leader praised the conversation, supported the continuation of contacts, and listened to Lula's assessments about possible political solutions to the conflict. This reinforced the image of the Brazilian president as one of the few leaders capable of dialoguing with different sides of the same crisis. While other countries were focused only on their own issues, Lula moved between trade, diplomacy, and international security at the same time. And it was exactly this that caught Donald Trump's attention. The President of the United States realized that Lula was not at the G7 just as a guest. He was there acting as a political broker with growing influence in global discussions. At the end of the summit, the message was clear. Lula arrived at the G7, opened doors for new negotiations, strengthened strategic relations, and also took part in conversations about the most important conflicts on the planet. It's the kind of role that few leaders are able to play on the international stage. Trump found out about Lula. That's right.
It's envy. That's a lot of envy of Lula because he doesn't have even a bit of Lula's ability and he only messes things up. Yeah, he only makes a fool of himself and causes trouble over there in the United States. It's a shame, right? But it couldn't really be much different, could it? What can you expect from these extremists? Someone's always drinking, right? Get that crap out of here. It's nothing. They're all cowards. All just talk. My dear, smash that like button, like, comment, and share. For me, it's way past time for Cláudio Castro and Flávio Bolsonaro to go to jail, for the federal police to run an operation against them. Or not? What do you think? Leave your comment. It's really important. Kisses. See you on the next live stream. Take care. Bye-bye.